An afternoon of grooming is in order, starting with the baboons and hopefully ending with the lions this evening. And this is Safari Live. Good afternoon, good afternoon. The weather is starting to change here in the Mara. The wind is picking up. It's become quite hazy and there is a little bit of a chill in the air. Perhaps there's some rain for this afternoon. Who knows? But it'll be a good afternoon nonetheless because, well, you get to watch your live and interactive safari from two different locations. My name is Tayla and on camera with me today is Manu. And, well, we're hoping to find all sorts of wonderful things. So remember to hashtag Safari Live or you can chat to us on the YouTube chat. But it isn't just myself out here. We've got some Warthogs joining us too. A family of them, and because it's a little bit on the hazy side today, I suspect that they're on their way home early this evening, tail up in the air. I did already see some Warthogs disappearing down in burrow, so I was cheating actually, but they've all been doing this. They've all been very social with one another, sort of getting quite close, chasing each other about. Actually, these look like young boys. Looks like a little bachelor group, but of not particularly big pigs, of youngsters. That would explain the very excited behavior between them. Wonderful, right? Well, it's not just the Warthogs and myself and Manu that are joining you this afternoon. Jamie and Craig are in the other car and they are heading up to the marsh. Let's go see how far Jamie is.
I didn't get very far at all, and strangely enough, what has attracted the attention of the lions was in fact a warthog as well. So it's not just Tayla the Warthogs and myself out here, but we've got the Angama pride as well. A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Craig is on camera with me, and we're sitting right below the escarpment with the Angama pride. So the 4 females and their 13 cubs. At least I assume there's 13 cubs here. It's a little bit tricky to tell. But it's lovely to have you all on board with us, and don't forget, because you're on a live safari here from the Masai Mara and of course in the Sabi Sand in South Africa, you can send through your questions on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. And we've actually got a really lovely scene in front of us. Of course, our lioness and her cubs posing beautifully on a termite mound. Oh, you almost gave us a beautiful yawn there, little one. And then, if we have a look across to the right, we've also got a journey of Giraffe, which is quite lovely as well. There you go. They've obviously spotted the lions from their vantage point, and they've been keeping a close eye on them. Very typical, standard anti-predator behavior to stare in the direction of something like a lion or a leopard. So those giraffe are staring, I assume, at the other lionesses, which must be a little bit just past where we can see. Now, the lovely thing about this particular pride of lions, of course, is the fact that we always, pretty much always, know where they are, which is really very helpful. They're always around this river system, and barring the few times that they've been into the thick forest at the base of the mountain, we've pretty much, if we want to, we can always find them. We can't always get to them. Sometimes they're sort of out of reach, but this is one of their favorite gardenia trees. And we often see them hanging out around here. Now, I know that Tayla, was it the Angamas that Tayla was with last night? I think it must have been. I know she was watching them hunt. Sinak, it is lovely to hear from you now. Sinak, I think perhaps you are, I don't know if you're a new viewer or not. I know I haven't answered a question from you yet. Sinak, the males, well, they're around. So essentially, the males, sorry, I'm distracted by a bird flying. I think it was just a vehicle that scared it. Essentially, males are not part of the pride. They have a territory that encompasses the territories of several different prides. So they kind of move between ladies and at the same time move off on their own to patrol the territorial boundaries, to roar and make sure that no other male lions think that it would be a good idea to come and disturb this particular patch of theirs. So I'm not sure where the males are today. I would say that they generally spend time either here with the Angamas or close to the Angamas, or else, generally speaking, they're a bit further to the south of us, to the southeast of us, at the marsh, or at least the dominant males that we see here. and I spent the last 2 nights in Musiara Marsh desperately searching for male lions, and we didn't succeed, but we did have a really stunning evening with the Ridge Pride. I hope that this evening promises to provide those opportunities as well. So while we sit here and enjoy the company of the Angamas, let's go, because of course we're not just here in the Mara, let's go across to South Africa to enjoy some sights there.
Good afternoon, fellow safarians, and welcome to our sunset safari from South Africa. My name is Tristan, and on camera today I do have Senzo, and today is quite a special day in South Africa. It is Heritage Day in South Africa, so we are going to be celebrating all things South African. If you want to know a little bit about South Africa, you can use hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on YouTube chat, and maybe we'll address some of the South African questions and theme it in a South African way. Now, I forgot, I wanted to do a face painting, and I wanted to ask Senzo to wear South African socks, but we both forgot because we were rushing around a bit to get on to drive. I know, we were a little bit late. Naughty us. Right. Now, the reason why I'm down here is because I have a report that there is a spotted cat somewhere in where I am now, so I'm just going to have a look. I don't know whether or not it's on the Djuma side, whether it was on Little Gowrie, but there was a report by somebody that they saw one here. Whether or not it was actually visible for us is anyone's guess, but we're going to try and have a little look and check and see. Maybe we get lucky with it and we find something here. Now, you might also notice that there is an odd shaped 2 eyes kind of peering from my steering wheel. Yes, that is Pooji. Pooji is back and visible. I couldn't find anywhere to put Pooji over the last little bit because Rusty doesn't have the best places for Pooji. So I was thinking, well, let me try and find somewhere that it will work. And so Pooji is now on a roller coaster ride on the steering wheel. He's probably going to be thoroughly ill by the end of all of this, but that's where we've decided to put Pooji, and hopefully Pooji will have some fun where he is now. Now, this is apparently where this leopard was seen, but I don't see anything myself. Of course, that might not be the case, that it might just be sitting somewhere here and I haven't seen it, so I'm going to do a little bit to the west of the driveway just to check if it's not on one of the termite mounds here or sitting somewhere in this general vicinity. Of course, it also could have gone south. There's some kudu right there, so that means that there's probably in all likelihood not a leopard anywhere here. The kudu are a bit obscured to the south, so I want to just go forward a bit. There are impalas to my north as well, so if there is a leopard, it's sandwiched between quite a lot of prey animals, and it would be nice if I can find some sort of sign of it to give me a better idea of where it's actually gone and which leopard this actually is. Here we go. Here's the tracks right here. So this leopard has gone somewhere in this general vicinity, and its tracks go up and then turn to the right. Now, Senzo, if you look on this top of this mound here, you'll see, I'm going to try and direct you, but if you look, where's that stick? Okay, from this stick here, just go a little bit up and to your right. There it is, right there. So there you can see the little footprint for a leopard going over. It looks like a small female, so I think this could be Shadow's cub's track, and maybe Shadow's track is also somewhere around here. So there's the track for this leopard crossing north into Djuma. Now it's just a matter of us actually finding it and trying to see where it's gone. I wonder if Treehouse Dam is not a good place to go and check. If we haven't seen anything just yet, we'll try and check around Treehouse Dam, but there's definitely, that is the tracks we're looking for, and the good news is that they're going north into Vuyatela and not out, which is fantastic. So I'm going to try and follow these track for track and just see where they go. Maybe this is a leopard is lying right here and I've just missed it. I've just got to turn my car to get close. I think this is who it's got to be for. I mean, obviously it could also be Shongile given the size of it, which would be absolutely phenomenal if it's her, because as we've been saying, we're really desperate to try and see where she is and what's going on with her. It looks like that's where it was lying down. I'm just trying to see the track from here, which way it goes. Senzo, can you see anything? I don't see any leopard here. There's some fallen over branches that I just want to check as well. You see the kudu and the impalas look fairly relaxed. They're not in any way barking or making a noise, and they're just in front of me here, so I don't think there's a leopard lurking that side. The kudus have come from the south and are moving slowly northwards, so I think if anywhere this leopard must be on our northern side here somewhere, and maybe, just sitting in a little thicket, watching what's going on. So I'll try and just check around. If I don't find tracks here, I'm going to go to Treehouse Dam, because I think maybe Treehouse Dam is the place where we're going to find this leopard. It might have been going for water. It has warmed up considerably in comparison to this morning's drive. This morning the wind was very cold, but that wind has settled and it's a much warmer feel this afternoon, and so maybe that's pushing this leopard to go and have a drink of water. Okay, where else can I check? Just having a look here. I didn't see any tracks on this road. Maybe the fire break is worth having a little look as well. Now I do apologize that my head is out the car most of the time. Jay, you're asking why am I driving an open vehicle? Well, Jay, it's quite simple. It's the open vehicle just allows us to see a lot more of what's going on. So from this open vehicle, I can be able to spot things in the trees. I can see birds flying over, and it allows the cameraman to be able to focus on all of those kind of things. We don't have any obscurities to deal with, so we don't have to worry about branches or roofs or windows or anything like that. We can be completely open, and it allows us then to explore our environment in a really good way, and allows us to show all of you what's going on. Sorry, I just heard a bit of a noise right next to me, so I thought maybe there was something moving next to me, but it's just a Franklin. Now there's also an Impala up front, which means that this leopard must be in between all of this. Either that or it's completely out of this area, so I don't know. But the open vehicle is just much better for viewing. It really allows us to be able to interact with the environment that much better, and be able to bring all of you much better visuals from the comfort of your home. So roofs are also difficult because we off-road a lot. So unlike in Kenya, where the guys are off-roading through grassy areas or sticking to the roads, we on the other hand have it very different here. Ours area, as you can see, is dense, it's thick. It's a lot harder for us to be able to off-road here, and a roof would really complicate that, and so we don't try and leave the roofs off as much as possible and only utilize them when we really have to. So only when it rains do we put a roof on, just to protect the equipment from the rain, but otherwise it's roof off and enjoying the sunshine, if there is sunshine, or any sort of weather that we get. And it's nice, actually. It feels as though you're part of an open system, and that you can kind of just spread your arms and feel air in your face, and I really thoroughly enjoy driving an open vehicle like we do now. We also don't even have doors on top of it, so that's another part of our vehicles that is a little bit different. Okay, hyena tracks, no leopard track here. I wonder, where are you, leopards? Ah, Maggie, I'm so glad you asked how we celebrate Heritage Day, because there's no better way to celebrate Heritage Day than to have a good old-fashioned braai. And now a braai for us in South Africa is basically a barbecue in the rest of the world, and what we'll do is we get as much nice meat as we can find, and we throw it on the fire, and we'll have some vegetables that we'll do on the fire, basically corn on the cob. There'll also be salads and a bit of pap, which is basically a white polenta. It's maize meal that's ground down, mixed with water and boiled, and it makes this kind of hardened pap, thick, almost, I don't know what the texture is, polenta-ish. And then we make a sauce with it called shiba, which is a tomato and onion sauce that goes with the pap, and then you have basically nyama, which is meat, and pap and shiba, and you eat that together, and you get all your friends that you can, and you have the biggest braai possible, and then you get, well, some apple juices as well, because you can't have a braai without an apple juice at night, and that's how you do it. So that's how we will be celebrating this evening after drive. We're going to have ourselves a little barbecue all together with the crew that are here. We've even invited some of the chefs, and we've invited a couple other people, and it should be quite festive. Well, I think it will be festive and very fun. So it's going to be an awesome morning or evening, and that's the way we celebrate it. If I was in Johannesburg with my friends there, or if I was wherever, that's how I would do it there as well. So that's typically what happens. And it's really is, South Africans do love a good barbecue. We love to be able to cook the really good quality meat that we get out here, and well, also we have any excuse just to have a bit of a social event and have a couple drinks together. It really does go down a treat. So that's normally what happens with Heritage Day, and what will be happening on our Heritage Day here at Djuma. I wonder if the Kenyan guys are going to celebrate with us. The Kenyan guys are also going to have a braai. Excellent. Well done, team in Kenya. It's just what we want to hear. I would have been thoroughly disappointed in Brent Leo Smith if there wasn't a braai, because Brent Leo Smith loves a barbecue and loves to put a steak on the fire. And I remember talking to him the other day, and he was so excited to have a steak that I think even I got excited for him to eat his steak on the phone, because he was telling me how he had found this good quality steak in Nairobi when he was on leave, and he was almost foaming at the mouth. He was so excited about his meat. So I'm sure he's going to have organized something delicious for everybody, and hopefully it will be delicious and they'll all enjoy it. We shall definitely have a toast for them. Kylie asking if, other than all the braai food, what other staple South African foods would we have? That's about it. We're really simple out here. We have combined a lot of different cultures together, and in the end of the day, a Heritage Day food, you might be able to throw in a couple things depending on what culture you're part of. So you might do some mapani worms, although it's not a good time for those at the moment. You might do, if you're Afrikaans, you might do some koeksisters, which is basically a dough that is deep fried and then drenched in syrup, which, yes, it is as good as it sounds, and yes, it has also caused thickening of the arteries as it sounds as well. So that's what you would have if, you know, on the Afrikaans side of things would have that. It depends on your culture, but, you know, generally it's more just about the barbecue and about friends and about having people together, and some people do, you know, take inspiration from their backgrounds as Italian or Spanish or Portuguese. We have a big population of Portuguese and Italian in South Africa, so it just depends on what your personal fancies are, and most of the time the theme is meat on a fire and a couple of drinks and friends. That's pretty much how we celebrate any day, let alone just Heritage Day. Heritage Day just gives us an excuse to do it as big and as best as we can. And Senzo's laughing behind the camera because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm right, am I not, Senzo? Exactly. Senzo is nodding in approval. He's saying yes, that is exactly how it works. And so we all pretty much, that's how we theme it. It really doesn't matter what you have, it's all just about the company and spending time with friends and family. Now, I haven't found any further sign of this leopard. LM, you're asking if a barbecue could ever include kudu meat. Most certainly, if that's how you are inclined. Venison is not something that will be sneezed at by many South Africans. In fact, many South Africans thrive and survive off venison. They have farms where it might be difficult to farm certain other animals, but wildlife thrives, and they will farm venison and they will farm wild animals, and that will allow them to be able to, you know, consume that. So most certainly a kudu steak would not be off the menu. A kudu loin actually is what they generally go after. So kudu loin. What else do South Africans like? Springbok fillets are pretty good. Blue wildebeest. What else? Pretty much anything, as long as it's edible. It's generally kind of can be used. I have no idea where this leopard has gone because I can't find a track crossing the fire break, so I don't know if this leopard hopped back across southwards. That's baboon tracks. Okay, I want to go quickly just check the quarry, see if there's anything there. If there's nothing there, then maybe this leopard must be at Treehouse Dam, and if not, somewhere in this grassy area, and I'm just driving circles around it. Maybe it's stalking all of these animals and is low to the ground, so we're gonna have to keep our ears and eyes out very carefully and hope that one of these animals alarm calls and I'll be able to hear them and then be able to see the leopard like that. But there's definitely a track for a leopard. I drove here yesterday afternoon and those tracks were not there, so we know somebody saw a leopard here. We just I don't know exactly what time. I just got an update that a leopard was seen in this general vicinity. Let's see, any tracks here for a leopard? Here, kitty, 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 come on. Now the reason why I'm spending time here, even though I know we've got leopards on the property, I know we've got Tamba, I know we had Osana, and apparently Osana, late in the morning, one of the guys was out doing roads and he said Osana was inches away from an impala, so I don't know if he caught it or not, but we've got both of those options. But I just thought it would be nice just to check up on who this is. At the end of the day, it's a small female track. It's in an area where both Shadow and her cub, as well as Shongile, have spent time before. So it's worth checking, worth following up, and worth trying. You never know. Maybe we get lucky and we can find one of those three, because all of those three have been a bit MIA over the last little while, and we really haven't seen too much of them. So I would like to find any one of those three and spend some time with them as well. And we know the girls have been a little bit on the quiet side on Djuma. The young boys have been dominating what's been going on, so I would like to try and see if I can find one of the girls. Now, while I explore and try and find exactly where this track goes, I'm going to send you back over to Jamie. Oh, I'm not going to send you back, because unfortunately it seems as though the picture in the Mara went down, so you're going to be staying with me for a little bit longer as I look around for this leopard. But there's so many prey animals here that are all so relaxed. I find it very difficult that this leopard must be still here, unless it's just sitting in plain sight and none of us have seen it, which is also very possible. At the end of the day, leopards are masters of camouflage, and this does happen where you can lose them completely. So I don't know, maybe it is somewhere here. I'm going to try and just sneak up towards Treehouse and just check at the waterhole itself, because maybe this leopard headed there. Like I said, it warmed up a little bit since yesterday and this morning, and so hopefully it's driving it to go and drink. Right, now it sounds like the Mara has sorted out their gremlin issue. They've booted them. Jamie's given it a hiking boot to the face, and Gremlin has departed, and she has some lions, and I think they're still sleeping.
Okay, so back all the way halfway across the continent of Africa, back into the Masai Mara, where we've moved around just a little bit to see what it was those giraffe were looking at. And just as we expected, it is one of the other members of the Angama pride, and she's settled herself very comfortably. Hi guys. On a termite mound. Now apparently a few minutes earlier she actually attempted to try and catch a warthog just before we got here, or at least try and stalk a warthog, and she's basically, having failed at that endeavour, she's basically found herself the most comfortable position that she can. And you can see Giraffe just making sure they keep an eye on exactly where she is. She's the closest lion to them, so she's the most likely to draw their attention. And although it is possible for her to hunt a giraffe, not on her own, but together as a pride, lions can and do catch and kill giraffe. It is unlikely that she's going to make that sort of attempt tonight, and the reason behind that is she's got plenty of other options. There's zebra up towards the escarpment, there's buffalo, and a giraffe is a very dangerous thing for a lion to hunt. Many a lion has been killed by a kick to the head during a mistimed leap towards a giraffe. It does happen. Obviously giraffe have exceptionally powerful kicks. You've seen how big their tracks are, so you've got an idea of how big their feet are. You can imagine the force of that hoof. So lions have to be exceptionally careful if they decide to hunt a giraffe, and I don't think that she's desperate enough to take that chance now. Certain lion prides specialize in giraffe. Where I used to work, the lion prides would kill giraffe pretty much, I would say, about once a month or so, along with whatever else they managed to catch on the side. That was because there were very few buffalo for them to eat, and so they focused on the giraffe. And a couple of lion prides have learned to chase them over rocky terrain as a way of causing them to fall over, or alternatively onto tarred roads. Lovely to hear from you, Mr. P. As always, you say the giraffe in the background is beautiful. Which one are we referring to? I mean, they're all lovely. They're all very, very attractive creatures. And I find that it's always such a pleasant thing for me still, the novelty of a different species of giraffe, of the Maasai giraffe, hasn't yet worn off. So I always do a little double take when I see them. This one's got a saddle, actually. Or is that my imagination? No, but it does have a saddle. It's weird. It's like it's almost like it was out of focus in that one point on its back. Sorry, my brain is tired of not really making any sense, but you know what I mean. Looks like those spots are out of focus. It's after something. There's something on the ground there that giraffe wants. Yoshi, you say that the giraffe looks like she's very close to the lion. Yoshi, the giraffe at its closest, I'd say, was about 90 odd feet away, 30 odd meters. So it was relatively close. I don't think the giraffe was afraid though, because the giraffe, you'll often find, not just giraffe, but you'll often find animals that could be considered prey to lions or leopards. If they see the lion, and if they can see that the lion is fast asleep, then they're not going to be threatened in any way. And that's actually a lot of the time why things like impala, giraffe, zebra, and if you watch a potential hunt that's failed, you'll notice that the animals don't run far, and then they stop as soon as they know that they're safe. They stop and they stare at the predator. And it's basically a way of saying, okay, there's no point in hunting us. We've seen you. We're going to keep an eye on you, and we'll make sure that you're not going to sneak up on us. And the giraffe knows that it'll outrun that lion as well after a while, provided it's got a head start. Plus, she also knows that one lioness is not a threat. LM? No, the giraffe, I'm starting with we're starting with the second part of your question first. Sorry, lots of people are coming past and asking to take a picture of our vehicle. So essentially, the population of giraffe, I'm actually not 100% sure exactly how many there are in the Mara ecosystem and the Serengeti in total. I can tell you though that they do not migrate, so they're not migratory animals. Yes, we had a giraffe river crossing, but that's because sometimes they want to cross the river. It's as simple as that. All of the animals out here will move across the river every now and again, but no, they don't migrate in the numbers of the wildebeest and the zebra, and certainly you're not looking at nearly as many wildebeest and zebra in terms of giraffe numbers. One thing that we do know, and that we talk about quite regularly, is the fact that although we often speak of the pangolin, the rhino, the elephant, giraffe have also faced a serious population decline throughout Africa. And it's something that's known as the silent, or referenced as the silent extinction, because the giraffe numbers have been dipping alarmingly throughout the continent. Not here, not just here, but throughout the African continent. I'll find out for you. I'm sure there's a research paper somewhere on exactly how many giraffe there are. I mean, remember, we're looking at about 160,000 hectares that we traverse on, and that, of course, is not including, guys, that's not including the conservancies either. So the Mara ecosystem is massive, and the Serengeti is even larger. But I'll try and find out for you. Try and see if we can get some numbers and exactly how many giraffe there are. In this particular case, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can tell you that the population of giraffe in this particular exact spot is 7. Odie farming, while we, unfortunately our giraffe have decided to go for a little bit of walk, but oh Craig, can you manage to get that one that's reaching up there, or was it stopped? There's one there under the Balanites tree that was stretching up. That's it. That's the one. Look, watch this. Stretching right up to try and nibble on the leaves of the Balanites tree. And it basically is dwarfing the one that's next to it. So that looks to me like a large bull giraffe. Which brings us to the next question about the giraffe's social structure. And apologies, Chantel, my brain didn't even grasp the name. If I could hear that again, it would be hugely helpful. OD farming. Now, OD farming, you want to know about the social structure of giraffe. Giraffe are interesting. They're not territorial, and they don't really have a set herd structure. They're quite social creatures. They'll gather together in these herds, and then sometimes they'll just wander off on their own for a while and decide that they're bored of that company, and then they'll find some more giraffe to go and join up with. Look at him stretching. You'd think you'd go for an easier one, wouldn't you? So they don't have a set herd structure, and they don't really have a set hierarchy. They're not territorial. The only time you see giraffe, the animals we're looking at, sorry, the giraffe fighting is between males over a female. Sometimes what you'll notice is there's a general trend that daughters will stay with their mothers, And you can get herds of anywhere up to 20, even 30 animals out here. I think the biggest herd that I counted once was 40. That's unusually large. Now, speaking of the males and the way that they fight, Proud Cat Mama, good to hear your name once again. You wanted to know about the purpose of the ossicones, which is the actual official word for the protrusions on top of a giraffe's head. We don't call them horns because although they are solid bone, just like horns, giraffe are born with ossicones. And I'm just going to make life a little bit easier for Craig here. I'm going to shift around so that we've got some space and then we can actually see the lion and the giraffe, and poor Craig doesn't have to twist himself right round. So the reasons that they have the ossicones is essentially just for fighting. That is the main purpose of them. And when males fight, what they do is they swing their necks round. It's a process known somewhat humorously as necking, and they swing their heads round and they whack each other on the sides or on the legs, around the shoulders, and they can do some serious damage, and the ossicones just add to that. And if you look at a male giraffe versus a female giraffe, one of the things you'll notice is that it's not just the two ossicones on the top of their heads. They've also got protrusions around the front of the ossicones as well as behind the ossicones. So their heads are built like, what would be a good comparison? They're essentially built to hurt. And that's one of the reasons, one of the theories as to why giraffes have long necks. Because it's not just about feeding, and obviously the theory was always based on the fact that elephant. How lovely. A lot of the theories were based around the fact that being able to reach up higher than everybody else was one of the reasons why giraffe have long necks. Another reason that's been put forward for giraffe as well as for dinosaurs, things like Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus, is that it's actually a way of, it's a reproductive strategy. So the longer the male's neck, the more he can actually fight with another male. And therefore, over many, many, many years, obviously the males with the longer legs had more opportunity to pass on their genetic line, and so you've got the giraffe ancestors' necks getting longer and longer until you get the giraffes that we have today. So that's one of the theories that's been put forward to replace the idea, or to contest the idea that giraffe have long necks just for food. And I mean, it ties in, because if you think about the really sort of complex shapes of the horns of antelopes, male antelope. Okay, let's go back to our stretching up giraffe, since it's the only one that's really sticking out its tongue. Unfortunately, it is now really far away. I could go all the way around, but it'll take me too long to actually get past everyone and to those giraffe. Now, Scar, a giraffe's tongue is quite rough. It is not as rough as a lion's tongue, because of course the lion has those spurs adapted for getting rid of the fur on the animals that they feed on, as well as cleaning away meat from bone. Giraffe tongues are very, very tough though. They're not as rough as lions, but they are exceptionally tough. That makes sense because they use them to feed off thorn trees. It's really as simple as that. And so they have dark deposits. The tongue of a giraffe is purple and very, very long. It's about 1/2 meter long at its full stretch. And it's purple in color thanks to the melanin deposits, which apparently help to keep it protected from the sun. It's something that I've read, and I remember having a discussion with some of our viewers about that. It seems curious that a giraffe would need to protect its tongue from the sun, because you don't really see them sunbathing with their tongues out, but also to toughen it against the impact of thorns. So it's a very, very tough tongue. Highly entertaining to watch them feed, and highly entertaining to watch them clean their nostrils with it. As our giraffe make their way away from the lions and towards a herd of elephants in the forest of the escarpment, let's go find out. I know Tayla mentioned she was wondering about the escarpment. Let's go find out if she's had any luck.
I think I've spotted something. Yep, I did. Spotted a termite mound. I promise you, it looks just like a lion. Anyways, that's, yeah, Jamie, no, I'm not having much luck at the moment. The Sausage Tree Pride seem to have given me the slip. So we're looking with the help of our wonderful Askari, Nasiti, who knows the area really well. So he's giving us a hand. And then that's all that's happening. Chantal, I forgot the question. Not the question, but who asked the question? So sorry. Goldfish. Ah, yes. So Sally, wonderful question for you. Seeing as though it is... No, I've got to go down there. Not Sally. Savi. Let's see if that sound... I didn't get a correction. Aha. Okay. My bad. So you're wondering what my favorite dishes for Heritage Day, and I was thinking about it, and I actually said, funny enough, 2 days ago, I really miss boerewors. Now, for those of you who don't know what boerewors is, I say it very English. You can say boerewors as well, but I can't say that very well. So it's basically a spiced beef sausage, and it's absolutely delicious. And they flavor them with different things. Normally it's coriander, but now typically you would have that in a freshly baked, we would say a roll, a bun, bread roll. I don't know what everyone else in the world calls them. And a little bit of butter, and then it has to be a tomato, a relish. So it's normally quite a spicy tomato relish with onions, and you put that on the boerewors, on the bread roll. That is the best South African dish, I reckon, and it's my favorite thing for Heritage Day. I think we actually used to try and do boerewors rolls often growing up as a kid. But yes, there we go. So I think that the Sausage Tree Pride has moved out of the area that they've been hanging around in, because they go through phases. I suppose they're just moving around within their home range wherever there's animals. So if they move, you know, the lions will move too. So we're checking an old favorite. When I first arrived up in the Mara, sorry, this is where the Sausage Tree Pride used to hang around. So we're going back, we're going to check, and if not this one, we'll check the next one. We're lucky, there's actually quite a few of them that run off of the escarpment. Lots of buffalo down here, but I haven't really seen much of anything else. Not really any zebra, hardly any topi, one or two impala here and there. But otherwise, fairly quiet. But we'll keep searching. And it's also very windy, so maybe these cats have moved closer to the thicker vegetation. Right, we're gonna keep holding our hats down in this wind today. Tristan is out tracking. Will he find you all a leopard this evening?
Well, we're busy trying. I've just checked Treehouse Dam and the track's turned back the way we've come and head west again. So I'm going back towards Shabamu. Rexon's in the area helping me, which is great news because he's got James with him. So some of you may know James, who helps us out when we have our TV shows, as one of our trackers that goes out with Herbie, and also a very good tracker just like Herbie. And James is on foot and he's walking through this section just to have a little look, see if he can find anything. So hopefully it's going to be between us, we'll find her. But she went to the dam and has gone back to this side, so I think it must be Shadow, just given the route that she's taken and how she kind of walked back towards the area that she came from. So I would imagine it must be Shadow and the cub. I don't see any sign of the cub track though. The only cub track I saw was the one that was on the main road that we first spotted. So I think that's the cub track, and since then it's just been this female's track walking around here. So I'm pretty sure we will find them wherever they are. Just got to check around, but definitely for a female, that's for certain. So whether it's Shongile or Shadow, I don't really know at this stage. Either one of them will be nice to find. I'm not really worried either way. So I just want to go back towards Shabamu Pans and back up Shabamu. Rex says he's going to go around from the north, and he's going to let me know if he finds something on his side. But the best way to do this is just to close out the area and to double check and to see what's going on, and make sure that you're checking nicely wherever you're going, that there isn't a sign of them. So There we go. And Rex, actually, I just heard on the radio, Rex has found her. So just to my western side, right here, in fact, where we're going and driving, Rex has actually spotted her, which is fantastic news. So there we go. There's Rex actually right there and right where the leopard is. So that's very cool. Now, I'm not sure which leopard it is. Like I say, it could be Shadow, it could be Shongile, it could be either one. But sitting atop a termite mound, I would imagine, is where this leopard is actually at the moment. So fantastic news. So Senzo says we were just here. We were, Senzo. We just didn't open our eyes very well, and we got too sidetracked with the tracks and got too kind of excited about tracks heading towards Treehouse Dam that we didn't look very well on top of a mound, because there sits a leopard. So curled up on top, I'm not sure who it is at the moment. It looks like a fairly small leopard. Interesting. I'm not 100% sure who it's going to be, but we'll check out now exactly. As soon as we see the ears, it will be able to tell us. I vote Shadow. Lou, you say Shongile, and Megan says Shadow. I'm going to go with Shadow as well. I think Shadow is what we've got here. I don't know though. It's going to be interesting. Let's see. Not Shadow. I don't. Yes, it is Shadow, by the looks of things. So maybe if we just get a shot from there, that will at least give us somewhat of a display of who exactly it is. And sitting on top, pink nose. Yes, it's definitely not Shongile, that's for sure. That looks just like Shadow to me. So I'm sure that is Shadow that's sitting on top there, which is good news. Now, there was a track for the cub as well, so maybe the little cub is also around here, and with us settling down, maybe the cub will come back out. I'm not sure how relaxed the cub is these days, but it seems as though it moves around with her and is not too unrelaxed, so hopefully we'll be able to find the cub coming out. The last track I had for the cub was just south of us coming north, so it should be somewhere in this general vicinity. But that's super awesome. Nice. Another female. So we were talking about it yesterday, and we haven't seen too much of the girls. And, well, there's one off the list. And while it's not Shongile, it at least is a female leopard, and one that hopefully we will be able to spend the afternoon with. I know the boys are around, but we've really had a lot of time with them, so I'm going to enjoy spending time with Shadow. And there are so many other antelope in this area. There's an impala I can see that is not even 150 meters away, so it'll be good just to spend time with Shadow and see if maybe she's going to go onto the hunt this afternoon and move around. So exciting news. I'm sure a lot of you are happy to see her. So I believe a lot of you are very excited to see a female leopard. I know we saw Tundi last night. Well, I don't know if we can classify seeing her bum and her tail and just paws dangling as seeing Tundi nicely, but this is at least a lot better. She's up on a mound and hopefully will wake up at some point in the afternoon. I'm pretty sure she will. The nice thing for her is that it's overcast, cloudy. She can lie on top of this mound, not have to worry about sun beating down on her. It looks as though there's a little bit of a bump on that tummy, so it would mean that hopefully she's had a little bit of food, and that means maybe why she went to go and drink is just after eating they often do go and drink. And remember yesterday Rex had tracks for a female and cub that had lost their impala kill, and it can only have been Shadow. It was north of where we are now, so it can only have been her, and she must have then lost her kill to hyenas, and maybe this is the after effects of all of that, is that she's still digesting a little bit, and that's why she's so sleepy and out cold and out for the count at this stage. But how wonderful, isn't that really cool? What a wonderful way to start our drive. Right, so James, you say definitely Shadow. I agree, and that's, well, James is probably one of the best people to consult with leopards. He's very good with IDing them and matching up the spot pattern, so I'm glad that James agrees, and it could really only be her in this particular section, and with the nose like that, she's the only one that has that pink nose. Now, while Shadow sleeps and while we reposition ourselves and get into a slightly better position, I believe Tayla McCurdy has got something, well, that I haven't seen on Djuma in quite some time, and is apparently a very big example of one.
I've called you away for a buffalo, but look at the size of this fella. This has to be the biggest buffalo I have ever seen in my life, and I wish one of the other Duggar boys would walk towards him so that I can show you how he dwarfs them in comparison. Look at the size of those horns firstly, and there's quite a few other Duggar boys around, and they're not, it's not like they're young, but he is taller and longer than all of them. It is outstanding, and like I said, I really wish he would he'd just hang tight and not run off and wait for the rest of the group that he's with. That is a big buffalo, and he looks mean as well. I don't know if I'd want to get on his wrong side. Look at the size of him. There is only muscle on this buffalo. Now, I don't know what size of pride of lions you'd need here to take down this boy, because we've seen with the buffalo, they don't put up with the lions' nonsense at all, and they definitely are larger than the buffalo in South Africa, even the other ones. Not, I mean, he's exceptionally big, and they struggle to take them down. So I wouldn't imagine how a pride of lions would be able to do this. Maybe those 6 young males that have been seen quite a bit. Remember, they were trying to take down the hippo with Brent. I think they do that on a regular occasion. Maybe this would be an equal match. But wow, he really is big. Justin, you said lol. I don't think I've ever said lol out loud before. So that's a first for me. You have said, though, that disgusted look that he has. I don't know why these buffalo always look so angry. A shame. It must be really terrible, especially imagine trying to make friends and you both look as grumpy as one another. So I just want to show you the others that we've got here too, just so you can see. I mean, pan across them, they're so much smaller. So these are also adult males, and there's a cow on the left, so you can see she's smaller than the ones on the right hand side of the screen. There is a big breeding herd up ahead, so I think she's probably looking towards them, hoping to catch up. She's obviously just fallen behind slightly. But she also looks very round, so I wonder if she's isn't due to give birth. There are lots of buffalo calves around at the moment, and she's exceptionally large, isn't she? And not in the large manner as that big buffalo bull, but in the fact that maybe she's going to have a calf soon. Maybe that's why she's lagging behind the herd. Hopefully these boys will stay with her to help her. There's another angry buffalo, and another one. And look at the size of their horns. Nowhere near the other boys. Look at that. Small. African pygmy buffalo compared to the one we've just seen. I'm just joking, of course. Nice camera work, Manu. Nice. That was a great shot. Now, Piper Pancake, you're wondering if there would be any predator that would be a threat to this buffalo. Most certainly. Lions are indeed a big threat to the buffalo. Actually, he's just showing off from us now. He snorted and trotted forward, so now he's really standing tall too. Look at that. No, thank you. I'm okay. I don't think I'd want to mess with this boy. So lions would be his biggest threat. Maybe a crocodile if he was brave enough to go down to the river. Although I think one of his hooves to a crocodile would not be very nice. But they're so tough, those crocs. So. But yes, lions. I think he's kept a few at bay before. He is honestly an absolute brute. And on Laurie, wondering if the horns of the buffalo are different in the Mara. No, they're the same as the buffalo in South Africa. Still just made of keratin, so there's no difference there. And again, buffalo's horns are unique, just like people's noses. You know, this buffalo doesn't have a particularly big boss, but his splay is massive. And then you get others that have got really big bosses, but their horns don't sort of go out as wide. They seem to curl back a little sooner, or combination of either or. So again, it's just got to do with genetics, if maybe that's what you had noticed. I've seen both up here, big boss or very long and curved horns, some that almost touch the boss again, so tightly curled. He's not particularly young either. I think he's in the prime of his life, this boy. Kitty Kitty Bang Bang, you're wondering who kills more of, if it's buffalo killing more lions or lions killing more buffalo. It's hard to say. I think up in this area is probably an equal match. I reckon down in South Africa, lions are killing more buffalo. But here the buffalo, they don't play games. I mean, like I said now, every single sighting I've seen so far where lions and buffalo have interacted, and this is just up here in the Mara that I'm talking about, the buffalo have won hands down every single time. The lions have not come close to catching a buffalo. So, and it always ends up in them retreating and heading towards the lugger, the drainage line, funny enough. It's the same situation over and over again. So these big animals have learnt that you just got to show a bit of confidence, and it's very risky for those lions, especially when the cubs are running out as well. You don't want the tables to turn. It would be terrible. Wow. Well, there we go. Whew, that was quite cool. Actually made me quite nervous to realize that there's some massive buffalo like this out here. I'm glad I'm not doing bushwalks. But I'm going to send you back to Tristan, who has got Shadow, and I wonder how she's doing. I haven't seen her for a very long time.
Well, Tayla, at the moment, I'm not quite sure. She's lying down and she looks fairly healthy and looks good, and as though she's moving around just fine. I was checking her tracks just now, and she's not got any discernible limp that I can see, so I'm hoping that she's moving around okay. It might be a bit stiff after walking, but we'll certainly stick around to find out. It seems as though, she's coming right, and the fact that she survived as long as she has, if that injury was really that bad, we would probably have seen a reduction in her condition, whereas, as you can see, she looks pretty good. She's got a slight bump on the tummy, which means she's feeding. We know that she's been on carcasses in the last few weeks from varying other lodges around us, and so that leg must be healing up quite nicely now. It was, at one point, looked really bad, and she's even lying on it now. It was her right front leg. So her right front leg was the one that was damaging, or that was sore, and she was really favouring the left leg heavily. As far as I remember, I think it was. It's been a while since I've seen her walking, but if it is the right front leg, you can see she's lying on it, which means that there is definitely not too much pain involved. Cats would avoid lying on whatever limb is really sore, and even if it is the left leg is firmly down and it looks all okay. So I think she's fine, and if she's catching food, and we know that yesterday she had an impala carcass stolen from her, as long as she's catching food, then she's going to be okay. She'll be able to survive, and the best thing about it is that she's managed, even with this injury, to keep this cub alive and to keep feeding it and looking after it, and it really is a testament to that. As soon as now things have been a lot more settled in her territory in terms of the males, is that it's been a lot easier for her to raise this cub now. And she's also, that coupled with the fact that we have far less hyena presence here on Djuma than we did a few years ago, it means that she's caught some breaks now, and she's actually done quite well, and so far, touch wood, has been able to raise this female and get her to some sort of independence, which is, especially not independent yet, but she's at that age now where the most dangerous period is over. We're fast approaching sort of 9 months, and by 9 months that cub will be pretty street smart and will be able to move around and will be able to know what's going on, and we should have a situation where it should be able to even fend for itself even at this age. We know Tamba, Hosana, Shongile, they've all been left fairly young. They've all managed to eke out an existence, and hopefully Shadow's cub is at that age now where even it would be able to slowly but surely find food if it was to be abandoned anyway, and it will be able to avoid things like other leopard and hyenas and the varying other sort of threats that it has out here. So she's done well, and it's a positive sign. And if you think with Sindile, she did quite well with him, got him to a point where he was able to kill something for himself, albeit a rabid dog, but nonetheless he was able to kill, and he was able to find a food item for himself, and she pretty much did all the hard yards. The fact that he survived obviously was because there was intervention, and they were treated him for rabies and all of that, but that wasn't really her fault. It wasn't a situation that was natural. A dog should never have been inside here that had rabies, and so at the end of the day, it's not her fault that Sindile caught it and that. So she did well with Sindile, which was the last one, and now this cub that she's got now, she's managed to do quite well with it as well. So getting better. The first little bit of life was not so good in terms of mothering and in terms of cub success rates, but now in the later end of her life, when she's become a bit more experienced, and as things have settled, like I say, now with a very sort of settled pattern of Anderson and Tingana, it means that she's really had the opportunity to be inside the core territory of a male leopard, and that's allowed her then to be a little bit more successful with the cubs that she's had over the last little bit. Obviously she has lost some. I mean, she did lose a litter between Sindile and this cub, and she lost one from this litter, but at least it's better success rate than previous years. When she was younger, it was not good. She lost, I don't even know, I think I've seen Shadow with probably 7, 8, maybe even 9 litters of cubs in my time that I've seen her, and to only have one young male that was aided by the help of people in the end to survive. And then now this cub is really not a great success rate if you compare that to her mother and even her sister. Her mother obviously is just an anomaly in the world of leopards in a lot of ways. To only have lost one cub that we know of in her entire existence is just ridiculous, and I don't think there's any other leopard in the Sabi Sands that has that success rate. But her sister Tandi has done quite well. Of the cubs that she's had, as far as I've seen, she may have lost one in most of those litters, but she's at least managed to raise some cubs into independence. So she was able to do Wabayiza, Bahuti, Kuchava, and now obviously Tamba is semi-considered to have been raised successfully. At the end of the day, he's a year old. He's kind of he's over a year old now, and he's breaking away from mom. It's clear that she's not as interested in him anymore, so she's done the hard yards there, and has been quite successful when it's come to raising cubs. So I'm glad Shadow is kind of now living up to the reputation of her mom and starting to catch up with her sister, and that she's really kind of been able to keep this cub growing even with an injury, which is pretty amazing. Now, those of you probably wondering, talking about Sindile and where he could be and what his sort of movements have been, very difficult for us to know where Sindile is. Unfortunately, that process of him being treated for rabies and him being collared and all of those kind of things, it's just made him a lot more unrelaxed than he used to be. He used to be such a relaxed individual, and after all of that, he just kind of, his trust in vehicles and his trust in people waned completely, and he's now quite skittish. And the last update I had of him was, I think, somewhere around April, May, somewhere there, he was seen on Elephant Plains, and other than that I haven't heard any updates. I know Brent's brother Dylan saw him somewhere in the south of the reserve at Sabi once, but I'm not 100% sure where he's distributed from there. He could be in Kruger, he could be anywhere, and difficult to say. We saw with the data that we had when he had his collar is that he shifted and he moved, and his loops as he was exploring was getting wider and wider and wider, and it ended up that he was going deep into the Kruger, both eastwards and southwards. And so I'm sure he's just distributed into one of those areas, and hopefully one day he pops up on a map somewhere, or pops up in a photograph somewhere, and we get to know where he is. But at least he got away from this area and from a natal area. He didn't get killed straight away, and I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's somewhere around. It's just unfortunately a little bit skittish, and that makes following him really quite tough. Also, that collar is no longer on him, so we don't get any of that data as to where he is. He's now a free-roaming wild leopard doing what he wants to do. Now, a lot of you are wondering when the cub for Shadow is going to be named. Well, remember, we generally only name these cubs at around a year old. That cub is not yet a year. It will only be a year in January, so still some time to go before it gets some sort of naming process. Also, at the end of the day, it's not up to us on this side to name it. This cub was born in the west on Arethusa and Hofmann's area, and they've seen a lot more of her than what we have, to be honest. I mean, we've seen very fleeting glimpses of Shadow and the cub, and we've had some great sightings, but fleeting glimpses, to say the least. And so it's up to them, really. There will be a rangers meeting, and those guys will decide on some names, and that will be the process from there. Hopefully, it will be around sort of December, January. It's just in time for us to do a few TV shows, I think, that's around that area, so maybe we'll be able to involve everybody in it, but we'll have to obviously chat to the rangers with regards to that. Now, Shadow obviously is still fast asleep. She's still taking it very easy. There's still impalas close by, and I'm sure she will hunt them a little bit later, so we're going to be patient with her, and while we do that, I believe Jamie's got some big pachyderms in the distance.
I've got to say, and Tristan and I have been friends for a very, very long time, and I have to say that I don't think I've ever been more furious with him in my entire life, because now all I can picture is boerewors, and of course we don't get any boerewors here. There is a place apparently where you can buy some, but now all I want is a boerewors roll, and I can't think about anything else, even while I'm looking at elephants, which usually serves to put me in a fantastic mood. All I can think of is how amazing it would be to have one. He's put the idea in my head, and it'll take me probably until dinner time to forgive him. All I can think of. Imagine a boerewors roll now, Craig. It would be so lovely. It would be so, so lovely. On a different note of what would also be lovely was if these elephants did what I expected them to do, which was come in this direction. I parked myself here because they were moving slowly but surely towards us, and now they've all stopped moving and they've changed direction. So much for that idea. It was a nice plan while it lasted, but it didn't work out the way I planned. I've been trying desperately to get a nice elephant sighting, and I've had a few, but never on camera. Come on, Ellies. Say hello. So we haven't left the Angamas permanently. We're going to do a quick loop around their lugger, see what else we can find, what else is lurking around here. Maybe we get lucky and stumble upon a black rhino or something like that. And then we'll go back to them as the evening draws to a close. The lovely thing about the Mara is when you do get situations with elephant herds interacting, you can actually see and watch it happen. Whereas it's something that we don't always, or not always able to see, hi guys, when we're on Djuma. Just because the vegetation is that much more open here. The landscape is that much more open. Okay. My elephant plan did not work, but we've got more elephants off in the distance, so let me go and see if we can get a bit closer to them, because that's a bit... They've also moved slightly higher onto the ridge, so we can't even see them properly. It was not the way I was hoping that scenario was going to play out. There's a bull up ahead. Let's see. No, the road goes the wrong way. Also thought, well, we might as well look for the male lions as well. Oh, Andrea! You and I share the same first name. I think it was Andrea. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chantal. You and I share the same first name. My first name is actually not Jamie, it's Andrea. But I've always been called Jamie. I didn't choose to be called Jamie, I just always have been called Jamie. But my first name is technically Andrea on my passport. Andrea, the difference between African and Asian elephants, there's actually quite a few of them. So one of the big ones is the trunk. In an African elephant, you've got this motion. So there's basically like a top lip and a bottom lip on the trunk. Whereas in an Asian elephant, it's just a top lip. So it kind of just goes like that. And I'm not stopping now to demonstrate just because there's a vehicle behind me. So I'm going to cause a traffic jam if I do. And then the ear size is another big one. The ear size is much, much larger in the African elephant. The Asian elephants have smallish ears. In the African elephant, it's very common for, in fact, it's pretty much the norm for both males and females to have tusks, whereas it's quite unusual for female Asian elephants to, let me just let it go past, sorry. Off you go. So, hi guys, anyone else? Nope. So that's one of the biggest differences that you'll see. Asian elephants also have a slightly more curved spine. If you look at them in profile, they've got an almost sort of, you wouldn't call it a humpback, but it is a curved spine, whereas the African elephant has a slightly more flattened. You've got the shoulder, then the dip, and then the rise again of the spine towards the hips. Well, those are the main physical differences. Obviously, there's subtle differences within the way they live. They live in very, very different ecosystems. Their diets are completely different, although their digestive systems are quite similar. So it is, there are some very clear differences when you look at them. You'll see it straight away. I also find that with Asian elephants, their skin looks different to that of African elephants. It's not quite as wrinkly. It's got a slightly different tinge to it. I would say a slightly a pinker tinge. They're still grey, but there's a slight pinkish tinge to it. And of course, I don't know why this has popped into my mind now, but it's something that I've just thought about. But there are those African or Asian elephant back safaris. That's something you want to just think about. Those animals in the wild, how content they are. I'm not sure that there's really an excuse for us to ride them, especially when you read up and see some of the training methods used to convince those elephants to be rideable. Okay, well, maybe I assume we're talking about Tristan here. Maybe I can't be angry with him anymore, or Tayla, because she also raised the burrow issue, because one of them has found something with spots on a termite mound.
Indeed, Jamie. And anyway, I didn't bring up the burrow at all. I just talked about a barbecue or a braai. I was in no way bringing up burrow, and so this cannot be squarely blamed on me. I think Miss McCurdy has to take some blame in this fashion, in this regard, or this matter as well, because at the end of the day, I just spoke about that we had good quality meat here. I didn't chat about burrow. But it seems as though the girls are salivating, and what we'll have to do is maybe send them some photos of if we do have burrow tonight. Do you think they'll be happy, Senzo? Yeah. Senzo's nodding in agreement that we think we should do that, although I think the girls might punch me the next time they see me, so maybe let's not do that. At the end of the day, we've established this week that we should not in any way incur the wrath of the feminine species, and it's better just to try and stay as quiet as possible and trying to just listen and to say yes ma'am as much as possible. So let's not try go down that road. But you can see Shadow is very much sleepy at the moment. She's not moved at all. She's taking it completely easy. Yeah, the impalas are still close-ish. I mean, they're drifting slowly away, but there's some impalas around. There's some kudu around. So I think she's just waiting for sunset. At the end of the day, in overcast, cloudy conditions like this, when the sun sets, it's going to be perfect conditions for her to be able to hunt. So she'll rather be patient, wait for the sun to go down, and then she can use that cover of darkness, because it's going to be a very dark night tonight. With this cloud cover, it's going to be no moonlight whatsoever, and it'll be perfect for a hunting cat. Piper Pancakes, who is a new viewer, welcome to Safari Live, Piper Pancakes. I hope you're enjoying it so far, and you're asking whether or not male and female leopards have different sized territories, or if there's nothing to do with sex and their territory sizes. Well, yes, they do have different sized territories. So what you will find is females generally have smaller territories than the males, and the reason for that is that the males ideally would like to encompass as many females as possible. So they're going to push, and they're going to move, and they're going to try and establish themselves over a large area and try and mate with as many as possible, because they want to continue their bloodline as much as possible. In an animal world, instinct is everything, and the instinct to mate is huge, and particularly in males. So they will push as much as possible, whereas a female, she doesn't care if she mates with one male or 5 males. She just wants to mate and fall pregnant. So she doesn't care how many males there are, as long as there's just one. That will be okay for her, whereas a male wants to try and mate as much as possible. Remember, once he does mate with the female, if she falls pregnant and she stays pregnant, then at the end of the day, she's going to be... Oh, there's some impala walking in the background, so Senzo spotted some of them that are drifting. But at the end of the day, she's going to be out of commission, basically, for anywhere between a year and 2 years. So he's got to have other options to spread his genes. His tenure as a dominant individual is so short that he can't afford to mess around and only mate with a female once or twice at the most. He needs to try and find as many females as possible and try and mate as much as possible to get his genes spreading and going. So males tend to have much bigger territories, and females much smaller. Here in the Sabi Sands, to give you an idea, male territories are roughly around 6,000 to 8,000 hectares, so that's about 14 to 17,000 acres around that area, whereas females tend to be much smaller. Theirs can be anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 hectares, so much smaller. So you see now she's spotted something, so she's picked up her head and she's looking. I wonder if she's not spotted some impalas. Did she spot impalas, Senzo? Warthogs is what she spotted. So Senzo's seen the warthogs. We've got a vehicle next to me, so I can't pan the camera too much. I'll try and reposition, but I don't really want to chase the warthogs too much, but you can see how interested she's become. There's also the impalas that Senzo filmed just now going around the back, so she's now noticed that there's a lot of animals around her, and this is the advantage of being up on a termite mound, is that the other animals are not picking up her scent. Her scent is almost higher than what they are, and so they're not able to smell her. Also up there, she's difficult to spot. She's camouflaged very well, and she's sitting right above their eye lines, and so they're at the moment kind of watching and checking and trying to sort of look low down, but she's up at the top, and she can then watch them and hope that they come towards her and then ambush from these termite mounds. And I've seen leopards hunting warthogs where they'll actually come down the mound, the warthogs feed their way towards the mound, and as the warthog rounds it towards them, they explode out and grab them. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not she actively hunts these warthogs, but you can see, look at her, she's going into a very different position that she can now at least watch what's going on. I think we're going to try and reposition a little bit, Senzo, just so that we can see any sign, and we don't want to obviously disturb the other guys that are in the sighting, but they're just in an area where their field of view is right in ours, so I'm going to try and just slowly meander my way forward a little bit. The warthogs ultimately are quite far away from us, so we don't have to worry too much about stressing them, but at least if I get into a position where we can see her and the warthogs, it's going to be a lot easier for Senzo at the end of the day. So just want to position ourselves over there. Is going to be a lot of branches in front of her face, so I do apologize about that, but at the end of the day she is watching in this particular section, and the warthogs, I can see them, they're very, very difficult to see, and I don't think we'll get them on camera because it's just their backs ghosting through some dry grass in the thickets far in the distance, but it certainly has got her attention, and she's certainly watching very carefully what's going on. And it's amazing how her reaction is different to kudu and impalas and warthogs. So when she saw kudu just now, she kind of just opened her eyelid and watched the kudu go past. Maybe she realized kudu's a little bit big for her. Impalas, she was kind of looking but not really too worried. And then the warthogs, though, she saw that, and she's probably seen that there's young warthogs there, and that's why she's zoned in. The problem is she is going to have to watch out for her impala. The impala is straight on my sort of right side here, so next to that tree, I think it is, somewhere there, one of those trees is an impala. Just behind it, there it is, there, sorry, that big tree. So there's the impala, you can see hiding out back there, so she's going to have to be very careful, because if she moves from there, that impala is going to shout, that's going to send the warthogs going. So her best bet is just to stay nice and patient, sit low and wait for the impalas to move off if she wants to hunt the warthogs, or she must hunt the impalas which are closer to her. So she's got some decisions to make. It's tough to be a leopard sometimes, you've got lots to choose from. Roshni, you say suddenly the behavior has changed and that leopards are completely different to lions in that regard, and that it's amazing how quickly they go from yawn, that's a good sign. Yawning possibly means she is going to get going. But leopards are very different in that they are very responsive to their environment and to changes within their area. So they will quickly see a prey animal and quickly try and go towards it and hunt it and take any opportunity that they can. Lions tend to be a little bit more calculating. They tend to watch and observe, and only if it's something that they really know that they can get will they go into a complete hunt mode. So you'll find lions in the Sabi sands, when they see buffalo, that's one thing that does drive them to really hunt quite quickly, whereas anything else is a little bit more of a slower wake up, and then they kind of amble around staring and looking. But with Shadow, you can see she was responsive straight away. Hosana, we've seen the same. Tumba, we've seen the same. They go from relaxed sleeping positions into full-on active alert modes in the space of about half a second. So you could see she was sleeping, she was out, she was not interested, and now she's attentive, she's alert, ears are facing forward, eyes are focused, and she's really trying to focus on what's going on and work out a way that she can go. So there we go, look at her walking, much better. Now I know she's limping, but it really is a million times better, although that impala is going to spot her. But look, she's at least walking. There's the impala shouting at her, so you can see her tail will just lift up slightly, but definitely walking a million times better than what she was a few weeks ago. I mean, it's not even comparable anymore. She was carrying her foot, and now look, almost back to normal. I mean, even better than the 2 weeks ago that we saw her. She's looking a lot better. Look at that. I'm very impressed with her. Well done, girl. You're coming right slowly, and with that gait right there, I mean, there's nothing to worry about now. She's getting muscular movement, she's putting weight on it, so she's going to be okay. Proud cat mama, you're wondering how successful she'll be when it comes to hunting. Well, evidently she seems to be very successful recently. I mean, she's had a good run of things. She was seen in the space of a week. She was seen with 3 different impala kills and a duiker. We know that she had an impala yesterday from what was evidence that the hyenas stole from her. So she's seemingly hunting just fine. It's a good time of year for her. She's got nice dry grass to camouflage very well. It's also animals are driven towards water holes, and therefore it means that they are actually going to be easier to hunt. And so it's actually not a bad time for her to have gotten this injury. In a way, she's able to basically be able to utilize the animal's weaknesses to advantage. But you can see the male impala is actually following her, shouting at her as she walks. So he's there, alert, look, and he might give a nasal snort again shortly. But you see, look, he's following. So the reason why he's following is because he doesn't want to lose visual of this leopard and then think, oh, mate, maybe this leopard is going to come hunt me. So there's that nasal snort that you hear there, and that's what we will use to try and find her. There we go. Amazing sound, isn't it? And you can see it differs from the rat sound, which is followed by that gargling. This is just the nasal snort, and that's how we can tell the difference between the two. Now she's drifting, so I'm going to try and keep up with her. Now she's spotting those warthogs. She's going much more alert at the warthogs. The warthogs are going to be on serious alert now with this impala shouting like that. So her hunt is going to be a lot more difficult than what it was earlier. But she's still going to try by the looks of things. She's still kind of moving slowly in that direction. She's still trying to kind of work out a way to find these warthogs. And she stopped there. What she got? She just pounced on something. She missed it. The warthogs went into the mound. You see that? Look at the dust. So she tried to pounce and she missed it. The warthogs were just on the edge there, right on the edge of the hole, and she came from the back and obviously saw them and pounced but missed. So the warthogs went down. There was a big puff of dust as she tried to jump onto them. I think it was a warthog at least. I'm not 100% sure what it was. Maybe a dwarf mongoose. It could have been one of them too. But something definitely went down into that mound. There was dust that sprayed everywhere, and this is where the warthogs were a little bit ago. This is where they were kind of watching from. So I'm pretty sure that's what she went after. Maybe the face of a warthog was sticking out. Look, she's looking down the hole. I'm going to go forward because she's climbing in a little bit. Let's see, what have you got in here? Are you going to start excavating, Shadow? Yes, she's gone in. Look, she's going right in. And look at the dust. So let's see, she might pull something out here. This is going to be really interesting. Look, her tail's in there. There, you see, look, she's struggling. What is in there? Careful, girl. You don't want to get hurt if you go inside there, because you can get a face full of tusk if you're not careful. But she's definitely going deep inside the hole. She's climbing in there, trying to get down towards those warthogs. It must be a piglet that she's going after, because I don't think she would try this with a fully grown adult. But she's definitely trying. Oh, lots of dust in the face. Very dusty in a hole like that. What are you after? She's behaving a lot like a male this afternoon, in that males will do this. I've seen Anderson and Tingana both go into mounds like this, or into holes in the ground, and excavate and then pluck warthogs out like champagne corks. You don't see it very often with females, but maybe she's hungry and that's why she decided to try it out. You can see she is a little bit gaunt. So it was interesting though. Did you see how deep she went in? And all it was a little white tail sticking out. You silly girl, you must be covered in dust. You can see she's sneezing now. So a lot of dust in her nose and going down her throat. But how cool was that? Out of nowhere, she just went flying towards a hole. Amazing. And there she goes off into the distance. She's now walking. I wonder... She's obviously hungry, which means she's on the hunt, and hopefully she's going to lead us towards her cub. That's what I'm hoping for, is that we're going to have a situation where she's going to take us towards the cub, and we'll get to see the cub. Now you can see the holes that I'm talking about. So these are the kind of holes that the warthogs are going into, and that's what she went down, is something deep like that. And you can see it's almost like a black abyss inside there. So that's obviously what she was trying to go after. But very cool to have seen. It's not something you see very often. So Lou says it was a pangolin. Now the reason why pangolin is on the brain for Lou and for everyone else is because yesterday I had a memory on Facebook, and so for warthogs, are they coming out? There go the warthogs. You see they're running. Look, they're all running out. So Shadow, if you just stayed, my girl, you might have had a chance, but unfortunately they've all run and that's the end of that for her. But that's what she was after. It was definitely a young warthog. It was a small warthog that ran. But I was saying yesterday on the Facebook thing, I had a memory where I had seen wild dogs 6 years ago, and as it turned out, I saw wild dogs yesterday. And then today on Facebook, a memory came up that I had seen a pangolin 6 years ago, and so I thought, what are the chances that maybe a pangolin pops out and we get to see a pangolin now? Wouldn't that be quite special? So that's why I've thrown it out into the universe, and pangolins on the brain for everyone. But you never know. I have seen pangolins twice thanks to leopard, and so it would be nice if we found another one. Oh, Shadow, if you had just waited, my girl, on top of that, and that's the difference between a female and a male. A male leopard would have sat at that hole. We know Mvula does it, Tingana does it. They're patient. They'll sit at the hole and they'll wait. And as soon as that warthog exited, she would have been able to grab it and take it. And that warthog that was there was a fairly small one. It wasn't a very big warthog, and she really would have been able to take that. So a little bit of more patience from her, and an experienced campaigner like she is, I would have thought that she would have shown a little bit more patience. But you never know. Maybe she just thought, this is not the greatest idea. I don't know what's down this hole. I'm going to leave it for now, and maybe thought that they won't come out as quickly as they. Peyton, they are some lucky warthogs. You're right. Are warthogs that are very fortunate, because if it had been a male leopard in that situation, I can tell you that those warthogs would have been in a lot more trouble than what they were. And look at the tail just wiggling now. It's because there's a whole bunch of impalas shouting at her. She's got impalas shouting on her right, impalas shouting on her left. What are you sniffing out inside there? She's smelling something deep inside that bush. What are you up to? Maybe there's a scrub hare in there or something that she's smelt. I can hear the impalas to my left. Now you can hear something squeaking. I wonder if there isn't a little mouse or something, or a gerbil or something that's in there that she's heard. That's why she's digging around inside. What are you up to, Shadow? Nope, it's decided that's where she's going to carry on now. Interesting behavior nonetheless, and I wouldn't be surprised after all this shouting she's going to find herself a termite mound and then position herself on one of those mounds and just kind of take it easy. But you can see she's slowly heading northwards, and there is a mound coming up, so I'm pretty sure that's where she's going to go and sit now, and she's going to wait for everybody to calm down, everybody to stop shouting at her, so she can then start hunting again a little bit later, because ultimately that's what she's going to want, is to hunt. If she's hungry for warthogs already, it means that she is going to start moving again at some point. But if she had just been slightly more patient, she would have had a really good chance of catching those warthogs. And we've seen so many near misses. We've got to get a live kill at some point with our leopards over the next little bit. Time is running out before I go on leave, though. I'm only here until the 30th, and so hopefully one of these leopards is going to provide us with something in terms of a hunt and a kill live, because we've filmed now, I don't even know how many hunts in the last few weeks, but she's in stalk mode again, so I don't know what she spotted, but her mode of movement has changed completely. I don't know if maybe there's more warthogs. Can you see anything, Senzo? I can't see anything either. But she spotted something. Look at the tail. The tail is a dead giveaway. When that tail twitches like that, means that she's interested in something. She spotted something and she's moving towards whatever it is. So it really is very interesting. I wonder what she's going after. I don't want to move just yet in case it's something quite close. She looks as though she's staring quite close to us. So maybe a little scrub hare in the grass. You never know. Maybe a baby duiker, a little steenbok. They sometimes will lie in the grass as well. Her movement has quickened up a little bit now. She's not nearly as stalky as what she was just now. Stalky is not really a word, I know, but it describes. It's dwarf mongoose. That's what she spotted. I can hear them. Listen to them. Can you hear them? And her tail's up to tell the dwarf mongoose, stop shouting at me. I understand. But she's hungry. She's stalking everything that's moving at the moment, so she's definitely looking for food. How's our aerial going to be here? Bobab, you say you're wishing Shadow good luck for a hunt and hope she she finds something, well, hopefully she's going to go onto this tree for us before she finds anything, because, well, it'll just be beautiful if she does. It's a favorite thing for leopards to do. No, she's just going to go past it. Or is she? Come on, up onto the tree for us. No, I don't think so. I think she's going to just stop and sniff around. I was hoping she would climb up the tree a little bit. It's not the best tree for her to climb, but it would have been nice nonetheless. She looks as though she's watching it, and often you'll find leopard and lions and cheetah, all of them will kind of climb up, use that for a bit of advantage point. Let's see, maybe she's sniffing around there. It's almost like she's looking for things that are hiding in the undergrowth. See, she's smelling quite excessively. She's sniffing around. Maybe she's picking up the scent of another individual, or maybe even her cub. It's difficult to say. Sorry, Senzo. No. Again, she's smelling around there. Now, I wonder if she's going to head towards that mound. The mound is coming up. She is walking straight towards it. I'm pretty sure she is going to go up on the mound. I'm almost 90% sure that that's where she's heading. So let's go and follow her forward and see if she does. And let's see. We're probably going to have to push the aerial down. Riti, that white on the tip of her tail most certainly helps to spot her. In fact, that's what we look for more than anything, is that white tip. It helps us a lot. It really is an expressive part of her, and it really does give us an advantage to be able to see her. I often have spotted leopards just by that white tip flicking in the afternoon light or in some reason, so it really is a good way of being able to sort of see her. Now there's another hole here that she's come towards. I wonder if she isn't going to just have a little sniff around the hole, but there we go. You see she's looking down into the hole that I was talking about. There we go. Hello, beautiful girl. I'm so impressed with how she's walking though. She's walking a lot better than what she was, and she's going to be absolutely fine. The way that she's come right since we first saw her with the limp is really a lot better. So she's looking absolutely wonderful, and I love when they carry their tails like this, when it's bent up and slightly high, and she's got a nice fluffy white end to her tail, so it really does catch the light, and it is a beautiful marking. So Riti, it does help us. It contrasts heavily against the environment here, and it's something you can pick up from a long way away. So when they walk like this, often the white tail is how we spot them. Beautiful though, isn't it? We're being spoiled, guys. With the leopards, we have been absolutely spoiled. September has been leopard month for sure. We have had the most ridiculous leopard sightings over September, so we really have been super fortunate in that regard. Now, we gotta wait for these guys just to get around. And their 20-point turn. There we go. Well done, guys. So we're going to just try and take a little bit of a different route, because otherwise we're going to be stuck here for quite some time. So let's get round. Senzo, why are you giggling at me? Senzo's laughing at me because I think Senzo thinks I drive like a maniac. I told him, though, you haven't seen anything. Wait until you start driving with Brent Leo Smith. Then you're going to see what a maniac is in the bush, especially when he follows wild dogs. I was gentle on Senzo yesterday with the wild dogs. I gave him a introduction to dogs 101 on safari, and it was a gentle, easy situation. Like I say, wait until Brent Leo Smith gets back here and it's the middle of summer and he's racing after them. That's a whole nother level of off-roading and of racing around, and so it's going to get very interesting when he's back. I'm sure Rusty and Wendy are a little bit happy that they've had a hiatus from wild dog chasing over the past few months. Now she is mobile and moving again. Lots and lots of aardvark burrows here that we need to be careful of, and lots of little holes. You can hear Rex had to get himself out of a mess. There's a bit of dust in the air now, so we're going to try and get around. Kathy from Ohio, leopards do make contact calls. They have got two types of calls. Okay, hold on. Senzo has lost, or I've lost a jersey actually on a branch. Senzo, will you grab my jersey? Thank you very much. Let me go back. So Senzo's got my jersey. Thanks, Senzo. What a champion. So they do have two types of contact calls. They've got a soft kind of, how would we explain it? It's almost like a little kind of, it's not a meow, but it's a sort of a soft little contact call that they make. It's not a roar either. And then they've got what's called a chuff. Now a chuff goes something along the lines of, and that's how they'll call the little cubs, or they'll make this like little cry, much like a cheetah call, when they are just trying to contact the cubs a little bit further away. The chuff is normally used when they can actually see one another and be able to actually talk to one another like that, and they're able to have some sort of visual. The shadow is slowly but surely moving through the golden light, so I'm going to try and keep up with her. I'm going to try and head towards this termite mound that she's heading to, and hopefully she'll go a little bit more stationary there. But while we do that, I believe Jamie is still with her lions, and hopefully they're going to get up and take her on an expedition too.
From a beautiful leopard sighting to a really truly spectacular silhouette of our mountain range, the sun has finally, right at the end of the day, decided to show itself. It's been hiding away for most of it, hidden behind a thin, quite hazy layer of cloud, but the sun has popped out, shining below the clouds, and it looks lovely. That's our home up there. That's where we live. That's Angama at the top. And then off to the right, just where that sort of top peak slopes down, that's where our camp is. That's where Chantel is at the moment, directing the show from, well, the top of a mountain. One of the best working views in the world, I think. We've returned back to the Angamas just because it is starting to reach that point in the evening where they're going to be thinking about getting up and moving. Having sat with the Angamas many a night, I would say that we've got, and this is going to sound really profound, we've got one of two options. They're either going to get up and hunt now, or they're going to sleep until around about 10 o'clock tonight. So basically the options are they're going to hunt or they're going to sleep, which isn't very profound at all. But just from spending time with them, obviously you can't apply an absolute rule, but generally speaking that's the way that they manage their days. They tended to be quite late risers. They did, much like Shadow, attempt to warthog earlier. No success there. And now they look really contented. I'm wondering where the little ones are. There are little cubs, and whilst the adults might be content to sleep for the rest of the evening, the cubs, generally speaking, will make an appearance and start playing and being boisterous, as young lion cubs always are. That's some of the older ones, and I think it's the second litter at the top of the termite mound there. That's one of the older cubs. There we go, that one. I think that's one of the second youngest, but I'm not 100% sure. Hard to tell because it's all tucked up and curled up on the termite mound. They've grown so fast, these cubs, born at exactly the right time, and as the migration is winding down here in the Mara, and most of the wildebeest have gone back towards Tanzania very early this year, I might add.